Tonight on NAIT NewsWatch.
With pandemic numbers still on the rise, Remembrance Day ceremonies looked a little different this year.
It's important that we don't forget the sacrifices of all our servicemen and women over the years, from World War I on to our 13-year war in Afghanistan.
A Biden presidency is now a reality in the U.S., but the question remains, what does it mean for Alberta?
The most immediate response is the Keystone XL project is likely to be canceled.
Edmonton Transit Service is enhancing safety and security to make everyone feel safe.
We want to build a transit system that provides women and girls the opportunity to use freely whenever they want without safety concerns.
NewsWatch starts now.
Hello, and welcome to NAIT NewsWatch. I'm Tate Laycraft, and joining us today from Winnipeg is my co-anchor, Mia Hildebrandt. Mia?
Reading Week has begun for many students at various universities across Canada.
But here at NAIT, students have been straight out of luck as the school has still yet to implement a fall break. David Udo is live in our news center tonight, and he's got more on Reading Week.
Thanks, guys. Normally at this time of the semester in the spring, many students will be getting ready for a very relaxing time. But this fall, that is not the case for NAIT students. Many students do believe that NAIT needs a fall reading break and it should be implemented in the curriculum.
Go fast, man. Let go! Let go!
During online schooling, many students feel the pressure of staying focused and on task, which is why Reading Week is cherished by all those students who get to experience it.
It really helps as a student to just have a stress-free week where you can take your mind off school, or at the same time where you can really focus on school and get a lot of stuff done when you don't have to worry about showing up to lectures for a week. But I would say it's pretty important, especially for just being able to balance things between school and other things and areas of your life.
Although many believe that a fall reading break is as important as a spring one, at this point NAIT has a week off in the spring, but students will have to wait until next fall for a modified break in November. It may not be a full week through and an extended weekend around Remembrance Day.
Fair that every other university gets to have a reading week, and then students kind of need that to de-stress and catch up. And it's supposed to be like that time of the semester where you get to relax or like catch up on what you've missed.
Reading Week has been proven to help with mental health during school, as it allows students to clear their head for a short period of time.
Yeah, it's important for a student's mental health, maybe even catching up on assignments that you might be like running behind on. And yeah.
So David, what's the history behind Reading Week here in Canada?
Reading Week has actually always been heavily deliberated in Canada for many years. They finally decided to incorporate it way back in 1988, but not all schools were on board. The first schools to start Reading Week included the University of Manitoba, University of Saskatchewan, and University of Alberta. Some schools are still struggling to bring it into their curriculum, including University of Calgary, who just started in 2018.
You mentioned that NAIT is introducing a fall reading week next year. Why the change of heart?
The main issue was NAIT included their 15-week semester program. A school like U of A can easily bring a reading week because they only have a 13-week semester. What NAIT plans to do is to add 2 or 3 days on to the Remembrance Day weekend to make up for that time.
Once again, that's David Udo reporting live from our news center tonight.
You're watching NAIT NewsWatch, the next generation of news.
Remembrance Day was this week, and most ceremonies were held online.
But one veteran took the opportunity to pay his respects in a unique way. Destiny Mayer has the story.
Thanks, guys. Remembrance Day this year looked a little bit different, with most ceremonies being online and people are encouraged to remember individually. But one veteran took this a whole new way. He decided that if we're going to decorate for Halloween and Christmas, why not decorate for Remembrance Day?
Remembrance Day, people put on a poppy, but they don't really think about it until the actual day of. And this way here, it gives me a chance to honor some of the people that I have served with as well.
Longstaff felt like this year especially, we needed to do something more for the veterans. He handmade a display for his front yard. He also said that many other veterans have displays like this up all year round because for them, Remembrance Day is every day.
To me, it's important that we don't forget the sacrifices of all our servicemen and women over the years, from World War I on to our 13-year war in Afghanistan.
This year, poppy sales are declining with less stores having out boxes and the stores with boxes having them in different locations than usual. Poppy-themed masks are helping offset lagging donations. They started out as gifts for veterans and shared housing, but demand inspired the Legion to sell them to the public at a $10 donation. Over 200,000 masks were sold.
Everywhere else that I'm hearing about is dropping off, and I imagine ours probably will be as well. And I know a lot of people are now making the donations online through the Alberta Northwest Territory Command.
Benjamin Druin, a World War II reenactor, says even though this year everything was online or distant, he found most people still took the time to remember and honor the veterans by themselves. Even though he was disappointed he couldn't remember in the way he normally would.
Most important part of Remembrance, it's honestly just making sure that we, pay our respects to the men themselves that did the things they did, went overseas.
The Alberta government has made veteran license plates available to anybody who has at least 3 years of active service on the RCMP. Remembrance Day this year looked a little bit different, but lest we forget the soldiers and the sacrifice they made for our country. This has been Destiny Mayer for NAIT NewsWatch. Back to you.
Thanks, Destiny. That's Destiny Mayer reporting from City Hall. After a wave of confusion last week, Joe Biden was officially declared the U.S. president-elect. But here in Alberta, there's still uncertainty, as many wonder what a Biden presidency means for our province, as well as its energy sector.
The most immediate response is the Keystone XL project is likely to be canceled.
Throughout his campaign, Biden remained adamant on his promise to cancel the Keystone pipeline, a decision that would cost the Alberta government $1.5 billion. Political analyst Markham Hislop says that an official decision could come swiftly.
If there's a Republican Senate, then a lot of what Joe Biden could do, because he won't get any legislation through the House, is executive orders. And so Biden could quickly pass an executive order on his first day in office if he wanted.
Despite the president-elect's stance, both Alberta and the Trudeau government plan to continue their push for the pipeline. Joe Biden is scheduled to be inaugurated on January 21st, 2021.
Over the last year, Edmonton Transit Service has been working to make public transportation safer for everyone, especially women.
Next train, Clareville, on track 1.
In an effort to make everyone feel safe, Edmonton Transit System is introducing a new way to discreetly report concerns. A new text line to report incidents of harassment or abuse is going to be implemented. ETS will assess the situation and identify the best way to dispatch resources to resolve the conflict.
We want to build a transit system that provides women and girls the opportunity to use freely whenever they want without safety concerns. A transit system for all.
City Council donated $22 million to make transportation in the city safer. Since then, we have seen improved surveillance, increased personnel, and a 30% decrease in criminal activity.
The provincial government has announced its plans for a new highway interchange that aims to bring more traffic to Leduc, the airport, and their surrounding businesses.
More than 55,000 vehicles travel along the stretch of the QE2 every day. Industrial and commercial vehicles make up about 10% of the total traffic.
The project at 65th and QE2 is set to include a new overpass, 2 on and off ramps, as well as several intersection improvements. McIver says the design will make exiting and merging onto the highway more efficient while also providing a boost to the area's economy.
The new interchange will support enhanced trade from goods arriving and departing from the airport. It will open up trade and economic growth while reducing traffic congestion.
Alberta taxpayers will fund $33 million towards the development, which is projected to create roughly 470 jobs. Construction is expected to begin in early 2021.
As COVID-19 numbers climb in Alberta, more restrictions might be on the horizon. For Winnipeg, Code Red measures are already being implemented, causing local restaurants to take some financial hits. One local pub received a very generous donation, allowing their doors to stay open a little while longer. The King's Head has been a local staple in the city for years. When owner Chris Graves made the decision to sell his house in order to keep his staff employed and his doors open, he was incredibly lucky to have a realtor with a huge heart for local businesses. She started a promo code where she's going to personally reimburse the money until the commission she made on the house is donated back into the pub.
It was overwhelming for me, really. Like, I sort of had to turn the post off. I couldn't look at it. I'm a pretty stoic individual, and it tugged at my heart for sure.
And I've just always believed in supporting the people around me and the hard work that they're doing.
The King's Head had an overwhelming amount of support through orders from all around the city, to the point of having to limit the amount of orders they take due to so many coming in.
Coming up after the break, we'll look at how NAIT students can take advantage of the school's counseling services. The Polytechnic is introducing a new virtual service that aims to provide more support for students at home.
Sometimes people won't look for themselves, but they'll look for other people. So we're hoping that we can provide the NAIT community some support.
Missing playoff football? Yeah, me too. Luckily, the Edmonton Football Club has introduced the 14 Days of Grey Cup. All that and more coming up in sports.
Karen Park for NAIT NewsWatch weather. I have some good news in the weather. The snow-free weekend is on its way. I've got that and more coming up after the break.
Signs of winter were on full display in Edmonton this week, and I don't even have a snow shovel. Let's check in with Karen Park to see if she can bring us any hopes for this weekend.
Thanks, Nate. Yes, the hope for the snow-free weekend is on its way. So you don't have to shovel this heavy snow for this weekend. Let's check out the Calgary first. So in Calgary, we're seeing a mix of sun and cloud and low chance of precipitation. So in the morning, we're gonna have some flurries, and in the afternoon, the sun will break in. Next up is Jasper. So again, only 20% chance of precipitation, so don't worry about the snow coming. And again, cold in the morning and warm in the afternoon. Let's move to Fort McMurray. Now in Fort McMurray, it's getting really cold down there, so the temperature actually drops down to -12, and it only goes up to -8 in the afternoon. So make sure to stay indoors and stay warm. Let's go to Edmonton forecast. So partially cloudy, and it seems like the cold will continue throughout the weekend. So we're seeing the low at -10 and high at -2 on Saturday. Let's look at the averages and records. So in Edmonton, it averages around 1 in the high and low in -7 at low. And for the records, it was 16. For the record high, it was 16 in 1979 and -31 back in 1911. Make sure to take the full advantage of snow-free weekend, and that's all I have for the weather. Back to you guys in the studio.
NewsWatch Weather is brought to you by NR92, the station for the students.
Week 11 is right around the corner, and NAIT students have already had to face many new fears and challenges.
In an effort to keep up with these new challenges, the school's counseling team is introducing a new virtual support service. Tyler Smith reports.
Nicole Plezovich is a diagnostic medical sonography student at NAIT in her last semester before her clinical starts. With being a program in which in-person classes is a must, Nicole has had the benefit of staying close with her classmates during these trying times.
If you have your core group of people who know what you're going through and can relate, it's more helpful, I find, in that aspect.
Although school takes up a large portion of Nicole's day-to-day life, Nicole recognizes and appreciates that NAIT is here to help, while also doing what she can to stay on top of her own mental health. As NAIT students continue to fight through these trying times of online classes and minimal human interaction, NAIT is doing their part to ensure that their community and students are getting the proper counseling services and tools, including NAIT's new Ask a Psychologist group starting Wednesday, November 18th at noon on Microsoft Teams. NAIT's counseling team is ready for the new service to launch. The dedicated space is for any student with quick questions, personal concerns, or for tips on how to improve their mental space.
Sometimes people won't look for themselves, but they'll look for other people. So we're hoping that we can provide the NAIT community some support.
As general screen times stay high, Ask a Psychologist will be a weekly platform that will help students find what works for them away from the screen, whether that be journaling, reading, walking outside, or all of the above.
So even going out in nature for 15 minutes in the morning or in the afternoon.
As for Nicole, her strong core support system helps her during any struggles, but she said the new group will certainly be something she considers using. Tyler Smith, NAIT NewsWatch.
You'd think the sports world would have flatlined by now, hey Tate?
Yeah, Mia, and though professional sports have been able to maintain operation, it sounds like Adam Surink might have some bad news on the Ukes. Let's check in with him for sports.
Yeah, guys, it's been a crazy week here in the city. Lots going on. But unfortunately, one of the things that won't be going on will be the ACAC, and therefore the Ukes seasons have officially been canceled. For the last 9 months, this has been NAIT's athletic department, and it will stay this way well into the winter. But despite business not going as planned, NAIT's sports information coordinator Sam Nargang says coaches and athletes have no need to concern.
The only thing that's been confirmed is that for right now, the student athletes are just going to continue to train. The coaches will stay on, obviously, because the student athletes are training. Because, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they are student athletes.
And there is still some hope for this winter.
I think there's a chance that there might be some exhibition play in the new year, just to offer some competition. It's just a lot more controlled than a season would have been.
FC Edmonton is trying to turn the page after an 0-1-6 record last season.
But would you believe that it's Edmonton that score first?
The club has scored first again, adding Eric Neuendorp as their new president and general manager. This is just the first of many changes expected during the offseason.
Let's be the next Edmonton-based pro sports franchise to bring the city a championship. I just know we can do it now. There's no reason to wait. We don't have to wait. I realize it may take 1 or 2 years or 3. That's fine. But it sure better not take 4 or 5.
Fans can anticipate an improved defense, stronger wing presence, better collective play, and a new head coach. The head coach position is expected to be filled by one of the 4 remaining candidates. More front office activity was happening across the city. The reigning CEBL champion Stingers are bringing back a familiar face.
It is slippery when wet. Caution when approaching.
Edmonton native and NCAA record holder Steve Sir has rejoined the Edmonton Stingers, this time as the Director of Basketball Development. But that title only scratches the surface of what Sir has planned.
The scouting part, identifying talent, getting names together, forming the right relationships with agents, and then getting into the community aspect too, just starting to identify and reach out and develop a level of comfort with the right people.
Sir's first stint with the Stingers was in 2019, their inaugural season. As the director of player personnel that year, he was in charge of building the roster and identifying talent. And 2 years later, many of those players still remain. Prior to the cancellation of the AJHL season, the Sherwood Park Crusaders won 48 out of 59 games. They seemed destined to make a run for the Centennial Cup. And this weekend, after 6 months of waiting and 1 month of exhibition games, they're set to play their first regular season game. And despite losing some key pieces over the summer, the Crusaders have performed to expectation in the preseason, going 8-2. Head coach Adam Manna believes that the team will find more success by starting with a clean slate.
We can't really dwell on last year. We kind of talked to our group and said, this is a new year, new team, new challenge, and we're not going to get back what we had last year in the first week, the first month, right? It's going to take time.
The Crusaders season kicks off tonight in Stony Plain, and they'll meet again tomorrow night at the Sherwood Park Arena at 7:15. And as for tickets, well, they're letting 100 fans in for every home game and releasing tickets weekly. So if you might get lucky, you could find yourself in the seats after all. It's not a true Edmonton November without playoff football, and luckily for Edmonton fans, the Edmonton football team will be embracing that tradition.
You get former Mayor Bill Smith talking about the 50s. You get Dave Cutler talking about 75. You get a chance to go look at that footage and marry it with what they're saying. And it's a really good archival exercise, if you like, and I can tell you they love it. Cup Unite.
The 14 days of Grey Cup started on Sunday and will run for another 10 days. Interviews and highlights commemorating each of the Edmonton football team's Grey Cups will be updated daily.
Even though we didn't have a football season this year, it still gives them some memories. They go back and they can say, well, I was there or I watched that game. It keeps people tied in with football.
The 14 days will be capped off with a Facebook live stream of the 1980 Grey Cup on what should have been Grey Cup Sunday. If you can't wait that long, a broadcast of the 2005 Cup will be streamed on Monday, because nothing cures a case of the Mondays quite like Ricky Ray. Well, I know what I'm doing on Monday and next Sunday. Tate, the Stampeders, they only have their 8 Grey Cups. Maybe you should be taking a look at that.
I'm not really much of a football fan, but I will say at least the Stampeders didn't have to change their name. And on that note, neither did the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Mia?
Coming up after the break, we'll look at Salvation Army's annual Kettle campaign. The campaign is ready to start this weekend with virtual events.
Every year since really 1903 in Canada, we've had a Kettle campaign.
I'm Chelsea McKay, and I'm down here at Curios City this week, checking out what they have for antiques, maybe find some new for my living room. I got that and more coming up next on Entertainment.
One of Canada's most historic charities is getting ready for the holiday season.
That's right. The Salvation Army's annual Kettle campaign is set to kick off this weekend, and they're using a virtual event to extend the fundraiser's reach.
Every year since really 1903 in Canada, we've had a Kettle campaign.
The campaign will raise funds for the Salvation Army's year-round programs, which help support Canadians in poverty. In recent years, the drive has launched with corresponding dinner services in Edmonton and Calgary, but this year the charity will expand the event, using it to support even more struggling Canadians.
A day of 1,000 lunches, but we're actually going to give out nearly 3,000. And not just a lunch, we're going to actually create winter care kits. And in those winter care kits, we're going to have a backpack, and with that, there's going to be a couple pair of socks and gloves and toque and some hygiene items and a mask so that people can stay safe.
Donations can be made in-store or online, and if you'd like to volunteer, you can head to yegkettles.ca.
Technology and engineering jobs such as coding are often a male-dominated field.
But one NAIT graduate is using her knowledge to help more women break into the industry. Our Carly Mickenuk reports.
Leah Elzinga graduated from the DMIT program in 2015 and advocates that jobs within the technology industry be more accessible for women of all ages.
Because nobody had ever talked to me about it. Even though I was in calculus, even though I was taking every computer class I could find, nobody ever talked to me about the fact that that might be a career for me.
Elzinga was inspired to go back to school at NAIT after attending a workshop put on by Ladies Learning Code, which is an organization that aims to create a safe space for all female identifying and non-binary individuals to learn coding.
It was just this big group of women that were super diverse, that looked like me, that were just crushing it. Asked about where would I go back to school? They told me what to do and gave me really good advice, and I was super inspired. And the next day, I applied to go back to NAIT.
Ladies Learning Code was created by women who also wanted a safe place to learn this skill and share their knowledge with others.
For any females who are out there, coding is not scary, and it's actually not hard. It's one of those things, I think women are probably more apt to being phenomenal coders. It has a lot to do with problem solving and multitasking, and women are phenomenal at that.
A year out of school, Canada Learning Code asked Elzinga if she wanted to come on board as the lead for all their youth programs. And the last year that she was there, she took on all of the programming for all of Edmonton. According to a Stats Canada study from 2016, only 34% of technology-related degree holders are women. And organizations like Canada Learning Code aims to change that. Carly Mechanic, NAIT NewsWatch.
Tate, do you got any big plans this weekend?
To be honest, I don't know if I plan on leaving my bed this weekend, but let's check in with Chelsea McKay to see if she has anything that might stir some motivation.
Usually when someone asks you to meet at a storage locker with cash only, you would say no, right? Well, one local entrepreneur took his chance and was in for a surprise. Alexander Archibald is an antique dealer who owns Curio City, a collectible and antique shop in Edmonton. About 6 months ago, he was contacted about a storage locker in Calgary that had some old comics and told to bring cash only. Initially saying no to be safe, he was contacted again and decided to go. What he didn't realize is that the storage locker was filled to the top with thousands of old Western comics and movie posters.
I parted ways with the gentleman, wished him well, and came home to do the sorting.
Bother.
My wife and kids helped me to offload,
If anything, they just
and I started the sorting process in my garage. And once I realized that it wasn't just a bunch of random comic books, that the guy had actually collected series, like complete runs of things. So if he had Tarzan, let's say, which he did, he had Tarzan #1 all the way through to almost every Tarzan up until like the 1960s or so. So hundreds and hundreds of Tarzan, but no duplicates.
Archibald realized his store couldn't handle all of the items and reached out to Comic Connect, an online marketplace based in New York City. The Western comics and movie posters are now up for auction on ComicConnect.com until November 17th and 18th. 3 new statues have walked their way down to their new home on 118th Ave. Residents of 118th Ave can now enjoy the newest art edition, Walking Figures by Polish artist Magdalena Abakanowicz. The 3 9-foot-tall, headless and armless sculptures represent time and loss that she experienced during the Second World War in Poland.
So it's all carefully chosen, which ones could make a big impact and kind of like create conversation with public art.
This is the 3rd installation on the street in partnership with Arts on the Ave and the Vancouver Benelli. The sculptures are on loan to the group for the next 2 years. The online Canadian Jazz Festival took place this week with musicians from all over the country. The online Canadian Jazz Festival highlighted musicians from 15 different cities, including Edmonton, across Canada this week. With performances in 2 different cities a night, people from all over the globe were able to tune in. Yardbird Suite in Edmonton hosted the jazz rock band, Mallory Chipman and the Mystics, Thursday evening giving a stellar performance.
Knowing people are tuning in, it's just something that we've taken some time away from given the circumstances. So it's really exciting, and I think, we're hopeful that there'll be lots more of this in the future too, just until we are able to safely gather again. So in the meantime, we're really excited about this.
The festival runs into the weekend with 2 performances tonight and Saturday and 3 on Sunday, with the finale being hosted by TD Edmonton, featuring the Edmonton Jazz Collective. You can check out the festival at www.cojazz.ca. From spending 13 years in the military to becoming a teacher, Josh Bowen is continuing to serve our country even out of uniform. Jaden Mikatuk has more.
One of this year's top 40 under 40 is our very own Josh Bowen. After serving 13 years in the Canadian Armed Forces as a soldier and infantry officer, Bowen had no clue what he wanted to pursue after his service.
When I was in the military, I got to respond to 5+ different disasters here at home. And the opportunity to serve Canadians in their time of need here at home was just an incredible incredible experience. With my education background and the experience, this was a perfect fit. And it provides another opportunity for me to continue to serve Canadians, even out of uniform.
His experience while in service made him perfect for a teaching position at NAIT for our emergency management program. Bowden designed an emergency simulation lab that would allow students to use touchscreens to address disaster scenarios.
And we're looking to sort of stay ahead of the curve to be able to provide that all-encompassing training environment so that people who are currently in the profession, currently doing the job, are able to experience things that they wouldn't necessarily get to experience in another environment.
With the help of Josh Bowen, NAIT has been able to create a program and simulation lab that is currently helping our school and will continue to help mold the minds of the next generation that will help us citizens in disasters. I'm Jaden Migatuk, NAIT NewsWatch.
I don't know about you, but I know I'll be going home, getting on my slippers, and grabbing a glass of wine and relaxing to some groovy music this weekend. That's all I have for entertainment this week. Catch you next time.
Thanks for joining us this week on NAIT NewsWatch. I'm Mia Hildebrandt in Winnipeg.
If you want to stay in the loop with all things NAIT, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram, or check out our website at naitnewswatch.ca. From Edmonton, I'm Tate Lakecraft. Have a good weekend.